I have a whole collection of teas, so I think today I'm going to drink the Focus tea. It's spiced blackberry and it's by Yogi. And I want to show you the honey that I take. Um, by the way, everybody's in their room, so I want to take this time to just have the living room to myself. It's one thing about having a routine for the kids. You know when to squeeze your little moments in. This is the Manuka honey. This is what I get. Things are so expensive, but it's a $19 little box of honey. But a little goes a long way. The reason why I love this is its creaminess. It's so rich, and I think it's made in New Zealand. Very rich honey. It never hardens or anything. It's perfect, and it tastes so good. When I was when I was young, we lived in Kolwezi in Congo. We had uh, we had honey, fresh honey. I don't know how we were doing it, but we were collecting fresh honey, and every time we would come inside the home, I would have my spoon and I would eat the honey as if it was candy. Basically, I loved it so much. Now I cannot, I can't even put a spoon of honey in my mouth. It's just takes me back to those days. But anyways,
got stuck, you were looking for clues, but that just made you more confused. You just need to see how lovely, how lovely, how lovely it is for you. Got stuck, you were looking for clues, but that just made you more confused. You just need to see how lovely, how lovely, how lovely.
so today I want to jump into feminism. And the only reason why I'm doing that is because I can't talk about elegance and confidence and identity if we don't cover the the tough talks. So let's let me get this. All right, let's go and sit down and have a talk. Salut tout le monde, bienvenue dans ma chaîne YouTube, je m'appelle Amina. Aujourd'hui, je parle de la féminisme et je vous demande une question. Est-ce que le féminisme est un combat de la femme noire ou avons-nous juste suivi le mouvement? Alors, activez vos sous-titres parce que je vais m'adresser en anglais. I wanted to focus on identity because when you know your identity and you are connected to it, you tend to have a natural confidence moving through the world. I cannot talk about identity, especially in the diaspora, without talking about feminism, but most importantly, about the hard times. So we're going to talk about the slavery, and then we're going to slowly move to feminism. But before even we talk about slavery and colonization, I want to take you back to the white women's story just a little bit so that we can understand where we're going. I pray that nobody here gets sensitivity. This is just my observation. And when it comes to feminism, if you had asked me like a month ago, I would say, yeah, I'm a feminist because, definitely not the third wave or the fourth wave, but I am a feminist. I mean, feminism makes sense, Our mothers could read, mothers could write, they could work. And now that I know so much, I would like to pull myself out and analyze this with you all as just an outsider looking in, because just understanding the system, understanding the story, putting two and twos together, you get the picture. So I want to share with you the picture that I have in my head, and I'll be as descriptive mentally as I can so that we can get it, right? Throughout this explanation of feminism, I will be using three women. I'll be using the Black women, the white women, and the African women. And I will be using timeline so we can understand who was where, basically. So my whole argument here is at the end of the day, we can judge if really feminism is Black or we've just been, you know, partying and not knowing where the party's going. We're just going wave after wave, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everybody should be a feminist. So let's get into it. So basically, the white women's tradition in the Western, the white woman was quote unquote owned. So when you are raised with your father, you are owned by your father. And when you get married, now you are owned by your husband. And mostly when you are taken by your husband, you stay home. So you don't need to leave the house. Leaving the house was not a good representation of the person who owns you, or if you really needed to leave the house, then you have to be chaperoned by your husband or your brother or your father. Again, if you are a white woman, definitely come along. My comments are open. This is not a movement talk. This is history and common sense. Everyone, keep your mind open. This is just a discussion, okay? When slavery happened in the Western world, let's just say when slavery happened in America, there was a black woman who is outside, picking cotton, working, and going through whatever she's going through. Again, I'm not ignoring the black men here. We will touch on that, but this is all about women, so we can really understand our core identity. The black woman who was outside the home could move around. She could go to the market. She could talk to any other man. She was moving around. It came a time where the white men wanted the black women to work inside the home. Okay, and so there's the black women and the white women. The white women's picture or depiction is supposed to be pure, angelic, innocent. That's why they would stay home and they would be protected. Basically, they've always been protected up at this point. So the black women, on the other hand, even during colonization, um, they just appeared different. Their beauty was not angelic or soft. They were strong. They were mysterious. They were from their skin to how they glow to how they looked young, their teeth, their perky boobs, their hips. It was just something that's never been experienced before. So the white women in their windows, they would literally just watch and admire that. And of course, we won't talk about the white men who really took advantage of that and used that to degrade the black men psychologically. And till now, I can say that there is still some trauma going on from back in the days and all of that. That's another talk. But all that to say, the black women was mistreated. They went through rapes, and a lot of white men would rape the black men's wives in front of them, just to show them that they cannot do anything, and if they did anything to protect the black women or to fight, they would be killed. And then they moved some black women in the home of the white woman and the white man. We also have to keep in mind that during that time, the white women, they had a cycle of disease, and they were barely showering. So they would shower maybe once a month, and so their skin were fragile and soft. Their hair were breaking, and they were pale. They would use perfume, but showering, they thought water would get them sick. So there was just a cycle of sickness going on. Some would lose hair, and it was just a tough time for the white woman. The black woman enters the home, and the white man is attracted and infatuated, whatever you call it. And I can just picture some homes, with the hierarchy going on, some white women not being able to talk back and having to hear or observe the white men just, you know, eyeing the black women and things that were going on. We get the picture. So then the white women started mimicking the black women. They would paint their skin. They would wear wool hair on their heads. They would wear corsets. They would pat their dresses just to get that look of the black woman. And I also know that there was a relationship between the white women and the black women in the house, but we also have to be realistic here. If you are African, I want you to just think the man with the money sleeping with the maid, and the woman feeling some kind of way and getting upset and things like that, which we've seen in movies, and technically it happens. And also sometimes the maid will get pregnant by the man, and the man will cast the woman away, go away. The child is not mine. They're not going to claim it. Same thing happened in American history, where the white men would impregnate the black slaves, and they will keep the baby, and the baby will not be claimed, but all the white women will know who was the father of the certain baby. And so that really started the movement, because there were thousands of mixed babies. And the white women thought, you know what? This is crazy, because the black woman is free, but technically free. She can move around, she's outside. And not only that, she is taking our men, you know, and we are just crossing our arms and we're watching what's going on. We need to do something about this. Matter of fact, let's get together and start a movement. I'm trying to stay as light as I can, but you have to understand so that I can make sense and I can make my point. And so the first wave of feminism started. It was during the late 1800s to the early 1900s. And around that time, the slavery was ending. So the slaves were free. And so when the slaves were freed, so now we're going to line up the women. When the slaves were free, the white woman has already started the feminist movement, and she is asking for the right to vote, for the right to own land, and for the right to and the right to just be legal, basically, because before they were owned, they had nothing, and if you have nothing, you can't go anywhere. And so now they can walk around and say, hey, this is me, look at my ID, and things like that. And so that's the white woman. That's what she's fighting for. She started the feminist movement, and that's the first wave. The black woman is late 1800, 1900, early 1900. That is the free slave. So the black woman is free. She is transitioning from being a slave to being free. So if that transition comes, trying to find homes, facing poverty, trying to figure it all out, right? So the African woman is also colonized. So she is, she's hardcore now, because she was soft. Even though they were queens, they were all soft. Softness is really part of us, and I'll get into that later. But the African woman is being colonized under the white men. And during the colonization, same thing happened. There were a lot of mixed babies, and the white men would journal everything about the black woman, their beauty, their jewelry, how they bathed, you know, and how they oiled their skin. The white man will journal everything, and he later went back to Europe, and it became the beginning of the beauty industry. We'll talk about that later. So this is the first wave. 3 different women, one fighting to get outside of the home, the other fighting to find the home and to be stable, and the other one also fighting with colonization, the white man. So that's the first wave. Now we go down to the second wave of feminism, also continued by the white woman. The white woman says, and this is in the 60s, the white woman wants to work, because she said, listen, I know we got the freedom, but the black woman is still working. She's still going to markets. She's still doing her thing. And so they are fighting for the right to work. Besides that, they are also fighting for they are literally having a movement against housewifeness. They did not want to hear about that. They also were fighting for reproductive rights. Now, let's keep in mind, this is when it gets messy, when you read about the founders of feminism and their personal stories and their children, and how it's insane, because mostly none of them, none of the feminists who started the movement were righteous. I can tell you that. It got messy, because as soon as the women got out, they were misbehaving. And when they started working, they needed the rights for abortion, because they went a little wild. It was crazy. There was a lot of, you know, and that's the white woman. The white woman wants work. The white woman wants, you know, rights to abortion. The white woman wants to be outside of the nothing domestic for her. Now, the black woman, this is the 1960s. Martin Luther King, they are fighting for the rights. The black woman wants to be heard. The black woman wants to be seen. The black woman wants to eat in a restaurant at peace. She just wants peace. There's poverty and she's doing double shift. There is police violence. There's a lot going on with the black woman. And then the African woman is going through independence. So she's transitioning from independence to rebuilding, to finding her roots again, trying to figure it all out, because now they are left with new ways of living, and they're trying to weigh, culture, Western ideology, all of that. So again, second wave, different situations here. White want a career, reproductive rights and all of that. And the black woman, she's just wanting justice. The African woman is rebuilding. And there's also one thing I wanted to mention about the second wave on the African American woman. While the white woman is wanting reproductive rights, the black woman is figuring out family structure. She's figuring out how to keep a home. She's figuring out how to instill values in the children, how to keep the black community's integrity intact, because at the time they were really, really working together to keep the black community, in its rightful place. So the African woman is rebuilding, rebuilding churches, rebuilding schools, and, cultures, division, going through all of that, trying to organize everything again. So now we are in the late 1990s to 2010. You guys can correct me on that. But this is now the third wave feminism. The third wave feminism, at this point, Black is getting included. The second wave, also Black, got included. I mean, why not? Basically. So when the Black woman is included to policies, it's always like, yeah, of course, kind of makes sense. Now we are in the late 90s. White woman is fighting for now being exclusively herself. We're talking about sexual freedom, body empowerment, body autonomy. In the third wave, they also rejected the beauty standard, like the classical beauty standard. They just wanted to go all out. From styles to music, it was just, it was basically chaotic. They just came with a wave of expression, of loudness, of staying as far away from domestic view as possible. So around in the 2000s is when we came to United States. And I can tell you that the family structure of the Black woman was out. The man was nowhere to be found. There were a lot of single motherhood. There were a lot of boys in the streets. Like I mentioned, we lived in Baltimore, a very, very bad area. It was a very bad school, but we're old enough to hang on to our cultures. But we observed the chaos during the third wave feminism. So she's trying to figure it all out. But the feminism movement gave him more of the voice, right? But at the same time, she was also labeled too loud, too strong. She was the embodiment of hypersexuality. So she has to also go through all of that, including single motherhood and not having the father in the home. The African woman is establishing herself in her tradition again and taking in the Western ideology and music. And this was really, really big. We grew up in this era. This is where we grew up dreaming of the American life because of the videos we would see from America. So we never saw the ghetto side. And if you have read the Roman Empire philosophy, and back in the days, 400 years before Jesus Christ, you will understand that there is a system to everything that's been established, and there is no going around it. But we can only understand what we can understand and make decisions. And so, third wave, white women is fighting law, basically going crazy, very loud, very expressive, body positivity, all of that stuff. The African woman is going through single motherhood, trying to figure it all out. The stereotype of being loud, being strong, kids in the streets, the structure of the Black family collapsed. So the Black woman is going through that. Okay. And so while she's trying to get loud and be noticed and be heard, the white woman, the Black woman is tired of all of that. She's too busy. She's already been called loud. She's already been called strong. She doesn't want to deal with that. Right. And now we are in the fourth wave. In the fourth wave, the white woman is the fourth wave basically being the internet, globalization of feminism. The white woman is deciding everybody should be a feminist, and who wants the mic, literally holding the mic, who wants the mic, who wants to get in, everybody get in, be yourself, express yourself, you are strong, you are capable, hashtags, cancel society, a whole pot of mud. Basically, that's what we're in. That's the white woman. The Black woman is exhausted by the fourth wave. All the Black woman wants is calm. She wants to be relaxed. She is exhausted. It's been a long journey. She's been through a lot. All she knows is being strong. All she knows is being, is taking it to the chin. All she knows is being on survival mode. She's exhausted. She's wondering, when can she relax? Okay. And the African women, she's making big decisions now in Africa. She is, overseeing a lot of posts in the government, everywhere else. The feminist movement really went straight to Africa, and women are standing up everywhere, fighting men. First, we wanted out of the home. Now that we are out of the home, we want to work. Now that we want to work, we also want to have the right to abortion. Now that we have the right to abortion, you know what? Forget everything classic and traditional. Forget everything. We can be whatever we want. We can be whatever we want. You want to be a tree, you can be a tree. It's very important to understand that the Black woman was added on just so things can look good. But you were never the core situation. But what it did to you is it gave you a certain lift and power to really go for it, because mentally and physically you've always been strong, But now that you have that backup, it's really making you go, 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 go. For so long, you have been strong. So much so that you forgot how to be. You forgot. You're trying to figure out how to be soft again, but it's just not in you. Relationships are failing because it's hard for you to drop your guards down for all the right reasons. The Black African is still kind of enjoying this little wave, of being independent. She is trying to also mimic the African American, who is also trying to mimic the white, who is also trying to be like the Black. And so there is just confusion of identity. You have your original femininity and you have the survival femininity. And the survival femininity has taken over the Black woman for generations now. Okay? And you're exhausted. The fourth wave, the Black woman is saying enough. And this is why I want this page to just be a place where you can just reconnect mentally to who you used to be. And you don't have to claim to be African, but historically speaking, you are. And before colonization, like I always say, Africa was one. We might have had different dialects, different languages, but we were one. Though there are some work to be done, you need safety before you can let go. Okay? You need reassurance. You need security. You need all of that. And there's a lot to be worked on. There's a lot that has to do with the Black men. Yeah, if we go back, abscesses, and there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack there, and I know. But we cannot also ignore the Black men in all of this. Because the white woman, when you read the letters, the journals, the diaries, the revenge of the white woman to the black woman was on the black man. So they endured it all. They endured the law. They endured slavery. They endured the wives thinking they were nothing useful. They weren't useful. They endured, the white women taking their jobs. They endured so much. Until now, the black man is still trying to prove himself so much that there is a clash between the two independent people. He cannot satisfy, he is not consistent because he doesn't know how to be, generation after generation, the single motherhood. Sometimes a father is needed in the house. So when a black woman is saying, you are not consistent, I heard you were with this one and this one, that's what the black man knows. Okay. And that's very important to know that if you are a single mother, always, if you have a male figure, always invite him into, the kids' life. And it's also important, because I was there, it's also important to never baby your boy. All right. Teach them everything a gentleman should learn. Teach them to be tough and teach them how to be men. Okay. I was lucky enough, but I was also down that road. It's very important, because at the end of the day, the same boys are the ones that are going to date our girls, and then they will end up being inconsistent. The list goes on. So to close, ladies, feminism was never for blacks. As we can see the data, we can see the dates, we can see the situations. 3 different women, 3 different situations, 3 different fights. If you truly are a feminist, just ask yourself, why are you a feminist? What are you fighting for? Let me know what you think. This is just my observation. I want you to let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know. You give me ideas of contents you want to see. That's very important. But as you can see, women, black women, your influence has shaped the world. Your influence alone, without you knowing, you have shaped the world. But yet, you are not counted for. You are looked down upon. And what's making it worse is your confusion in your identity. That's what we're fixing. And we're going to do that one step at a time. Okay? So if you are a woman of color watching this, you're a badass. You've always been. Regardless of your situation, you are still moving waves. Okay? So always know your value. Always stay confident. There's so much more to unpack. And if you are a white woman, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. And yeah, I guess this is where I will end the video. I wish you all an amazing week ahead. Stay confident, chest up, chin up, stay elegant, but most importantly, stay rooted. So the next 2 videos that's already filmed and scheduled is the Black Women's Rage. We are breaking it down and we are transforming that to elegance. And another thing is ghosting. So my single ladies, if you get ghosted, trust me, after this video, you will not be ghosted again. I'm explaining it, we're breaking it down, and we are transforming the way you date in an elegant way. So I hope you will be enjoying those. Until next time, bye.